It is my privilege to introduce for the first keynote, expanding our vision, realizing our goals, the Shliach in the state of Illinois, a member of the Vad of the Kinus, Harav Rabbi Daniel Yitzchak Moscowitz, Rabbi Daniel Moscowitz.
Standing before such an esteemed group of shluchim, each one a leader in their communities, attempting to bring a message of timely importance. I am reminded of the story of the two soldiers in the Russian army who decided to take a short interlude, a vacation of a few days, without telling the authorities. When they came back, they were called to the military tribunal, and the first one was asked why he left. And so eloquently he explained how his old mother is so very sick and needed his help, and he did not have the time to ask permission first. The unanimous vote was 10 years in Siberia. The next one came up, frightened, shaking, could not get the first word out of his mouth and tried to give some excuse. And the judges were sitting there waiting, and he couldn't get anything out of his mouth, and they said, let him go. 10 years later, these two individuals met. And the first one who sat in Siberia asked the second, how did you get away with it? And he replied, you just have to know how to speak. Attempting to try to speak to this group is certainly a group that each one knows the shlichus and fulfills the shlichus. But we, the seventh generation of Chabad Hasidim, certainly must take a lesson from this seventh Torah portion that we will read this Shabbos and begin learning today. We read of the dream of Yaakov Avinu, and how God tells him in the dream, V'hoya zaracha ka'afa ha'oretz, u'foratzta yoma v'keidma v'tzafeina v'negba. You shall spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. V'nivrechu v'cha kol mishpacheis ha'adamu v'zarecha. And all the families of the earth will be blessed through you and through your descendants. Lubavitch today is the most widespread and all-encompassing Jewish movement in the history of our people. Just a few weeks ago, a Jewish leader in our community, who I had never spoken to before, called me on the phone and told me of a friend of his whose children just had a baby boy, and they needed a meal. So I said, no problem. I gave him the name of the local mail, and I expected that their conversation would end. He told me, Rabbi, you don't understand. They don't live here in Chicago. They live in Kyoto, Japan. And I knew that the only one that I could call was Lubavitch. I immediately called the central office here, found the names of the 2 rabbinical students who had traveled to Japan this past summer, found another family that lived in Osaka, Japan, who would be able to help them. Meanwhile, called Thailand to our friends who live in Thailand, who they have a mail there, who the mail happened to be at that point in Australia visiting Lubavitch, called Australia, and arrangements were made that the mail should be able to stop in Kyoto, Japan, on the way back from Australia to Thailand. Ufaratsta yama v'keima v'tzafeina v'negva. The very first mimer that the Rebbe said on assuming the mantle of leadership 40 years ago, the Rebbe set the agenda. He made it very clear. What is our purpose? What must we do today? Just one thing. To make this world dira le'yisbarach b'tachtenim, to make this world a dwelling place for God here below, and to make the preparation for Mashiach to come. The Rebbe said, if it takes Mesiras Nefesh, let it be with Mesiras Nefesh. But the work must be done. Nothing short of this goal will suffice. The world knows that Lubavitch is synonymous with Ufaratsta. And wherever there is a need, Lubavitch is there to fulfill it. But have we fulfilled our task? Have we completed the task of our generation? The answer is not yet. We're all familiar with the medrash that Rashi quotes in the dream of Yaakov Avinu, how he took the stones, placed them around his head to protect his head at night, and there was a fight. Each one of those stones wanted to be at the central place of the head of Yaakov Avinu. They had a fight, and the end was that they all fused into one. But the question still exists. Even if they were now all one, but Yaakov Avinu's head was only resting in one place, on that one stone, there must be a deeper answer, and here, my friends, is the answer to our ultimate quest and purpose. Let the record state very clearly that Lubavitch has paved the way and shows by example the care, the concern for the welfare of all Jews wherever they might be, and in fact, of all mankind. A movement that is oftentimes criticized by the uninformed for being narrow-minded, parochial, is in fact the shining beacon of light to countless numbers of people around the globe. Who but our shluchim are happily willing to transport and transplant their families to isolated communities, impacting their surroundings with love, with compassion, with warmth, and with genuine concern. A wife of a shliach recently told me of how her children were together with her in shul during Yom Tif, and the rabbi made the announcement that Yizkor will now be said, and all those that have parents are asked to walk out of the room during the time of Yizkor. The husband, the shliach, was not there in shul. He was away on a shlichus. He was away for Yom Tov, separated from his family. And when the little children walked out of the shul, the mother heard how they're saying one to another, "We really have a Tati. He's just doing the shlichus of the Rebbe, and that's why he's not here today. But we have a Tati." Each one of us who has to have the Mesiras Nefesh of raising children, as the Rebbe addressed himself to in the Farbrengen yesterday, and we heard all of the beautiful answers how the Rebbe is concerned. We have this Mesiras Nefesh, and we're happily doing it, because we know the cause is to make this world prepared for the coming of Mashiach. Four years passed since a nuclear disaster in Russia. A nuclear disaster that had ramifications for those people that lived in the Chernobyl area, for little children who would now be exposed to all of the radioactive particles that exist and could be, chas v'sholem, medically damaged for life. Who was it? Who had the compassion? Who was concerned with this humanitarian effort but Chabad to save the children of Chernobyl? We can say, and it has been said, that the energy of Chabad is really compared to a nuclear energy. That just as when an atom breaks and it creates tremendous energy, so also each one of us goes out in our communities in a way of ufaratsta, and we are creating this energy that makes us successful in our shlichus. But the Rebbe has always said that we have to live with the technological breakthroughs of the time, with the scientific advancements, and use them for Torah. Today, any scientist will tell you that the greatest energy source in the universe today is not by breaking apart the atom, but by fusion, by taking atoms, bringing them together, fusing them together. The power of the many is infinitely greater than the power of the breaking of one. The night of Yankov Avinu's dream, the night of the Almighty's promise to him and to all subsequent generations began with the fusion of the many into one. That is true energy. That is the true energy of Ufaratsta. This Kinus has gathered together individuals from all parts of the globe. And when it is over, we will return to our respective communities, not as individuals, but as a collective force of energy inspired by the words, by the blessings, and by the example of the Rebbe, and physically fused as one in the book that the Rebbe wants, the Sefer Hashluchim, a testament to the fact that all the shluchim together in one physical being will be fused together. This is the greatest energy source in the world. And when each and every one of us implements our collective responsibility, in addition to the individual responsibility that we have to our own communities, but we are also understand and fulfill the collective responsibility and take that collective energy, then we will join in the rest with the rest of the world as we hear the voice of Mashiach Tzidkenu saying together with us, V'ho yazaracha kafar ha'oretz ufaratsta yama v'kedma v'tzafeina v'negba v'nivruchu v'chol kol mishbechais ha'adam